Hey, Keep Singing members, Dr. Natalie Eastman here. All right, we are in the unit of focusing on increasing range. We want higher highs, we want lower lows, we want fuller notes, we want better tone up high, we want richer, gorgeous, warm sounds down low, etc., etc. Okay. We're working on all that stuff. Today, we're going to address the question, because it came up not too long ago with one of my students. What if you can't even find your head voice? Okay. There's a lot of people who struggle with this. Just cannot access the head voice. Now, let's talk about nomenclature for a moment. You'll hear me talk about your higher range, the high part of your voice. It's often referred to as head voice, head register. For men, it is, well, and women. I've heard people call women singing falsetto. Now, there are some technicalities between falsetto and head voice, right? I'm not going to go into those. The whole thing that I want to discuss today is what if you can't find it? Although, as a matter of fact, one of the reasons that falsetto is even a thing is because men often can't find it. No, falsetto is often used for men, like I said. However, it is also used for women at times. Like I said, I was going to say, I have heard people refer to Carrie Underwood's falsetto, and I just kind of agree to disagree. I just think it's head voice, in particular for women. And for men, there are people who use head voice and falsetto interchangeably. They never refer to, or some people never refer to men's high range as anything except falsetto. Again, agree to disagree, because falsetto just means false voice, and it's meant to refer to the thinner, wispier sound that you get when you don't allow your larynx to do the shifting it needs to do as you're working your way up your range, and you are going up and up and up and up and up and up like this, and then suddenly your voice has to go. It has to shift if you're trying to get higher, and it ends up being kind of thin and wispy and maybe even breathy. So, I mean, okay, I'll agree to call that manifestation of your upper range, the false voice or falsetto, because I'd really call it a mismanaged head voice is really what it is, or mismanaged head register. Whatever. Here's what we're going to do today. Today, I really want to address the topic of what if you just cannot access your head voice? What if you are not friends with it? You don't even know it. You don't even know that neighbor lives in your neighborhood. Okay, so today, we're going to try to help you experience what your head voice or your head register, your high portion of your range, feels like how to get there, how to meet it for the first time at a party. I like that personification. So I want you to experience what it feels like to allow your larynx to shift so that your resonance is able to shift or transfer from chest and throat areas, and even middle to lower pharynx, which is the back of the mouth back here, above the trachea and below the sinus cavity, just in the back there. That area is referred to as the pharynx, and you have a higher portion, upper, middle, and lower portions of your pharynx. Okay, so people can typically feel and experience the primary use of their voice in their chest and pharyngeal resonance portion of their range. It's the head voice that gives people problems, men and women. But as I tell my students, if you can find, for those who are having difficulty finding their and making friends with their head voice, if you can find that, you can literally not just double your range, but even like double and more it, because typically once you get into your head voice, you can add more notes than you have in your lower range. So if you are only singing in your lower range, you are really limiting yourself as a singer. If you will make friends with your upper range, then you will expand the number of songs that you can sing by not an infinite number, but a lot of songs. Okay. All right. So we want to find out today what it feels like to shift into your head voice. And maybe some of you even can't find how to sing in your upper, like pharyngeal area, or that kind of the back portion of the throat. You only really know how to sing in your speaking voice range, which is typically pretty low in terms of where your range sits. So my speaking voice, find this here, is where you're hearing it. Yeah. A sharp, B flat, 3. So it's about where, when I'm just talking, that's about where my voice sits. And I'm gonna just give you an example of like how finding your upper range can more than double your voice, your vocal range. So my resting speaking voice is right there. My lowest note on a day when I'm well, not when I'm sick, but when I'm well, because we all know when we're sick, our voice goes in the tank. So I can sing fairly low when I'm sick, but that's really when I should be resting my voice a bit. But when I'm singing, when I'm sick, I can get pretty low. I can get down here. I have from time to time gotten here, but that's really not normal for me. But this is about as low as I can get a decent note. Okay, now I'm not really trying, I'm just speaking at that pitch. If I was to sing and really try to put some emphasis, some effort into it, la, ma, ma, ma. So yeah, it's not gorgeous, okay? But I warm up to that note so that my actual lower range will be fully warmed up. You always try to warm up a little bit past where you're going to be singing. And that is pretty much the lowest I can go. Now, when I'm super warm, I am warmed up this morning, but I wouldn't say I'm super warmed up. I did some mid-range warm-ups and some high-range warm-ups and some low-range warm-ups, not only warmed up for like 20 minutes or so. Now, some of you might be thinking, 20 minutes, that's more than I ever warm up. Okay, well, you probably need to do more warm-ups. I mean, you don't have to. It really depends on your goals, okay? We've talked about that before. Go back to month one, unit one, the foundations section of this membership program. But what your goals are will determine how much you're warming up and how much time you're spending on your vocal development. But today I warmed up somewhere between 20 and 25 minutes in preparation for this. And then I have lessons this afternoon. Okay, so now back to what I was doing. I am so easily distracted. So now, kind of speaking, resting, where I spend time talking, okay? Lowest note I can really get, that's really low, but it's really no good. There it is, okay. Now, I can sing, I'm not warmed up to here yet, but I can sing regularly up to C6. Now, let's talk about what happens in between there, and what am I talking about in terms of chest voice and head voice? Like, where does that even come from? We've talked about where your voice, I've talked about falsetto and all kinds of stuff now. All right, chest voice is simply a description of the range that you sing in that resonates primarily in your chest and here, your lower throat, and then even in your throat, okay? And even up to your lower and middle pharynx. So that is referred to as the chest voice. That would be for me, okay? So and that's really, that is A flat or a G sharp 4. That is really at a, even warmed up, that's about where my chest voice or lower range kind of stops being sounding decent. Above that and stops feeling decent. Now, I do have a pharyngeal range. Now that I'm singing without any strain, but I am getting to the point where my larynx is saying, voice box, my larynx is saying, I'm gonna have to do something. I can't keep this up. All right, here's why. When you're, go back to phonation and that whole like segments on phonation to really study this in depth. This is gonna be super quick. Here's your trachea, here's your larynx, here are your vocal folds inside your larynx, okay? So, and this is not even really like this. Vocal folds are like this, okay? But this is just a quick and dirty. All right, when your voice is working up its range, as you work upwards in pitch, which is simply a word for frequency, okay, the frequency determines the pitch. The higher the frequency, the higher the pitch. What determines the frequency? How fast the vocal folds are doing this, okay? That determines the frequency. How fast your vocal folds are creating sound waves, which are compressed pockets of air, which are formed by the diaphragm pushing up on the lungs and the vocal folds in a, just like a nanosecond, not a nanosecond, but a microsecond, causes the vocal folds are closed, causes the air to build up in pressure below the larynx until it bursts through the vocal folds like this and comes upwards like this, and then you have this compressed pocket of air. That is a sound wave. The frequency with which that happens is the frequency that determines the pitch of your voice. All right, back to the vocal folds. So now, as you are working your way up your range, your larynx, now, said the vocal folds, the edges of the vocal folds are often referred to as the, like my nails, my daughter painted them gel nails and these keep falling off, so just, let's just address that right now. Elephant out of the room. The edges of the vocal folds are often called the vocal cords, okay? So that's what most people are kind of familiar with. All right, but that's not the entirety of what's happening, okay? It's not just the vocal cords going like this. The whole vocal fold is a fold. It's this whole thing, and it oscillates rather than just goes like this. So now, but vocal cords, the edges of the vocal folds, the vocal cords, they lengthen and they thin as you go up your range. That is what enables your vocal folds to go faster and faster and faster, which causes the frequency, the number that is the frequency, to go higher, like how fast it can go, which then causes the higher pitch, right? So all right, so they're lengthening and thinning, they're lengthening and thinning. Now, your larynx is doing little adjustments. Those are called passaggi, or like in Italian, in vocal method, traditional vocal method, they're called passaggi. It's little places where your larynx has to adjust and your voice goes through a little passage. That's what the passaggi. Passaggio. Passaggi is the plural. Passaggio, the singular. So you got a little passaggio. And little passageway, little passageway, little passageway. So the larynx is adjusting itself to give the vocal folds and the vocal cords more room to lengthen, but so they can thin. So they're lengthening and thinning. And it gets to a point where physically, it cannot go any further. It must shift in order to continue going it does get faster, but it does so in a way I'm going to describe in just a second. It has to adjust. It has to go back from this tilted position and where the vocal folds are as long as they can be, because you only have so much space in here, right? So it has to adjust itself. So it goes, okay. Now, that is the primo passaggio, or the primary passageway. That's the one people call their flip place, or where they crack. All those little things, okay, their yodely spot. That's lots of things people call that. Not that many people like it, because that's the thing. That's the place where people get embarrassed when their voice kind of cracks and give that little yodely effect right there, and people don't want that to happen. Okay, so now, and singing technique like is kind of a big portion of that is not like developing the whole voice, but in terms of singing, phrasing and stuff, it is to manage that shift, that laryngeal movement, so that the impact on the voice is minimal to not at all, so to not recognizable, so that you cannot hear that there was any change in the tone and timbre of the voice as it goes up. So if I'm singing I'm gonna sing gonna go up, 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 gonna go up. Now, it clearly changed from this normal sounding voice to this thin, strained sounding voice in that kind of high middle thing, and then went into my head, but it sounded thin and weak, okay? Because the larynx was only allowed to adjust like at the very last second. It was like, I'm gonna adjust. Dang it. So it's not optimal, and you end up having to have this kind of like adjustment period singing up there. It's very difficult to move back and forth between the head and the chest registers or resonance spaces in your range when you're shoving the larynx up and making it go past where it can comfortably go, and where the resonance will smoothly move from down here to up here. Okay, I haven't addressed that yet. Head voice is where the resonance of your, remember we've talked about resonance elsewhere, so again, quick and dirty. Resonance is where the voice primarily takes its shape and form, because it's produced, all notes, high or low or middle, are produced at the larynx, all right? That is where it happens. But where it takes shape is different parts of your body. The spaces, the cavities, the tissues, the shaping of all that stuff that gives you your unique voice. That's why everybody has a unique voice, because nobody has an exactly same interior, even identical twins. Okay, so all the what do you call those things? Sound waves bouncing around in there, and they take on the characteristics and qualities of that shaping, and you feel those vibrations predominantly in your chest voice, in your chest for your chest voice, or your head for your head voice. So here's an example of chest voice. Here's an example of head voice. Okay, so not that many. I do know a few women who talk up here, but really not that many. I have had to work with a very small handful of women, particularly, to help them find their chest voice. That's very in the minority. Most people are down here and they cannot find this. So, and this is just where the resonance is primarily happening up here. So let's get back to the laryngeal shift. When the larynx shifts, it closes the vocal folds part way and then maintains only a little bit of space to continue the oscillations. So you have a smaller space in which those sound waves are being produced. And they're able to go much faster because it's a smaller space. I've already explained the whole balloon scenario and some other things in other teachings. So again, I'm not going to go through it. But when that happens, the resonance literally, and you don't really have to do anything to make this happen, if you just let the larynx do what your brain is asking it to do by raising your pitch, it's going to make that shift, and it's going to close up the larynx part way, and it's going to start oscillating faster in that smaller area, and it's going to have thin edges, which again helps it to go higher, helps the frequency to go higher because it's able to go faster, and that causes the shift to be perceived in the ear as higher. Okay, So, and when that happens, the resonance naturally occurs up here. It just does. So, all right, now we know what's going on. Okay, what if you can't find your head voice? I mean, I literally have had people that really had to work at this for quite some time. And some of you who don't have problems with this is not for you, okay? I mean, pay attention because it's probably going to be helpful, but it's not for you. Not every lesson is about you. Okay, just kidding. All right, now, I've uncovered a couple of reasons over the years as to why it's problematic for some people. Some people fear failure. They fear literally not being able to do it. And so they are hesitant to try. Some people feel silly about doing it because it's uncomfortable, right? So there's an emotional component to this, or it wouldn't be an issue, okay? So some people, if they feel silly, and they do not want to sound silly, they will feel embarrassed even if they're not in front of anybody else. And they do not like the feeling of not being able to control it, of wading into uncharted territory for them. It's simply unknown, and unfamiliar and uncomfortable. Okay, people who introverts and extroverts, they can't really explain why they are tired out or charged up by being with a lot of people or having a lot of stimulation. They just know, or like they become more aware over time, that it either drains them or charges them up, and they learn to function in life as appropriate to what they can do. Should everybody try to kind of like help themselves expand their horizons? Yes, I believe so. Introverts should be kind of working helping themselves to not just be loners all the time. Extroverts need to calm down and find rest and quiet for their brains to function. Now, okay, and I'm a very strong extrovert, but I've become more introverted over the years, particularly when I went to grad school. Yeah, it just, anyhow, that's just like, I can't explain why I'm extroverted. All I know is I enjoy a crowd. I like having lots of people. I like that. I like it. And I get energized by it. Now, there are people who might even like it, but they are drained and they must escape much sooner than I would need to. So, and for me, like, I know people like who are happy all the time, not really having anybody else around, like not even their family. And they're happy, they could do that for hours and days and weeks and months. But there is a point at which they'll usually realize, I need to be with other people, okay? And that they realize that's a good balance for themselves. Okay, now, that whole point was just like, you can't explain why you're that way, you just are. Now, and then you just kind of work to manage it. Okay, now, if this set of emotions is part of your experience with your singing voice, okay, this is for you. You're in the privacy of your own home. I'm with you, but only on the video, and I'm not going to see what you're doing. I'm not going to hear what's going on. You can go into a closet. You know what? Some of y'all live in a place where you are afraid that your neighbor's going to hear you, whatever. I know podcasts, whole podcasts, followed by hundreds and hundreds or even thousands of people that are recorded in closets, in a closet, which is great because all the clothing around them acts like acoustic absorption. This is an acoustic panel. I just pulled it out of something because I'm fixing to change some things. But this is an acoustic panel, so you can see all the glue here. It's this foam, and it's got these ridges because the more surface area of this absorbing material, the more surface area there is, the more of the sound waves it's going to keep. The sound wave hits it, it's not going to bounce back off. It's going to be absorbed into this. So this is, so I'll sometimes put these around my microphone so that just the sound, it helps get a little bit better sound quality to this. So you can make yourself a little sound thing, like go on Amazon, get yourself some acoustic tile. I used to have a whole like wad of these, just a pile of them. I now only have about 4, but if you'll get yourself a box and glue some of these on the inside of it, or just prop them in there, sing into the box. Okay, that is going to bring down the decibel level to anywhere around you. Go in your closet, get your acoustic tiling, sing in your box, and you literally will be able to kind of do this more privately. Now, what I'm about to teach you is a little hard to do with a box, although you can. So what we're going to do, what I want you to do is I want you to begin with a physical warm-up, do some body exercise, a little bit of light aerobic activity, get your heart rate up a little bit to warm your body, which also warms your larynx and all these muscles and helps you relax. You can take a shower and then do some movement, or do some movement and then take a shower, whatever. Get yourself relaxed, because we're gonna explore uncharted territory. And do things that maybe in the past you have felt embarrassed about. So do that. Then do your normal vocal warm-up. So work your way outward from you. Start in your mid-range, go easy, and then work your way outward toward the more extreme ends of your range. But you don't have to go all the way to the extreme ends of your range. We're really going to be focusing on the middle portion of your range, but you want to have your voice fairly warmed up. Okay, so there is an exercise I've taught in the past, but I'll teach again right now. It's called the fire engine, which is kind of what it sounds like, but it's not like a fire engine, whatever. It's not dee, 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 if you live in Europe. It's just an up and a down. But you can make it into waves if you want to. Okay, stop. I gotta hurry this up. So, but a fire engine. All right. And typically when I teach a fire engine, it's as low as you can go to as high as you can go to as low as you can go in one breath and arched like a rainbow. Okay. I do want and as symmetrical as possible up and over that rainbow. So that's why I think of the rainbow. And you want your pitch to go up and over that rainbow and go back down as symmetrically as possible. So it's not like this long up and then like plummet down because you run out of breath, etc. Now, you're going to do that too, but what we're going to focus on today is the ability to get past a certain point. Some people, and you're going to want to record yourself when you do this because you need to hear what you're actually doing. It wouldn't even hurt you to video record yourself doing this. But we're going to not go to the extreme ends of our range because we don't need to, but you're just going to kind of go comfortably low to comfortably high as you can. All right, so let's start with one, and here's what the first one for me is like. I'll just be comfortable range. Now, if you're listening super close, you can hear the place where my larynx shifts. You didn't hear it as much on the way up because I managed it better on the way down. There was a little teeny like flip point. You hear like a teeny little bump in the road, so to speak. And they both happen somewhere around here-ish. All right, but I was able to go past that place and go up into my head voice. Now, what if you are doing this? And you can't seem to go any higher. And you kind of feel like if you're only going just under an octave, and you're able to measure that on your pitch monitor app, let me show you my on pitch, or using a keyboard or a guitar, whatever the most comfortable thing for you is. So here's on pitch. So okay, and you see my lowest was the E3, like I said earlier. I wasn't really paying attention to the highest because I don't really care about that right now. But what you're just seeing is, all right, if you are going like this, okay, did you see that it was stuck on around A4, like hovering around there, and then came back down? That is only an octave and a half of my range, but I have another octave and a half on the top. I used to not be able to sing that low. I didn't always have a 3-octave range. I've worked hard at extending it, and I'm not even quite to 3 octaves. I'm like a solid 2.5. But but if you are getting stuck there, here we go. We're gonna do something that's gonna feel a little silly, but it'll probably help you if you just give it a chance and you give it some time. It's probably gonna take a little patience, a little time. Now, it's got a highly technical name. I don't want you to be distracted by that. I don't want you to feel like you are not smart enough for this or whatever, that you need to go back and get a degree. It can be an intimidating name for some people. It is called the bendy over thingy, all right? So that's what we're gonna do. All right, yuck, yuck, yuck. All right, so the bendy over thingy. What we're gonna do is we're gonna do that hum, but at the place where you find, if you are consistently measure yourself, if you're consistently stopping about the same place, you're gonna get your little app here and you're going to do it again. And just when you get stuck, just before you get stuck, watch the pitch go. And you can even watch the hertz as the hertz gets higher. Watch that hertz as the number gets higher. Just before you know you're about to max out, you're gonna bend over. Now, let me show you how you're gonna bend over, because you're not just gonna dive bomb it with your head down. You're gonna do it in a controlled way, and I'm gonna try to show you this. You're going to bend from your hip crease. Okay, here's my hip crease. Here's my waistline. You wanna bend from here. And you're gonna keep your chest up. So you're gonna lead with your chest, not your head, right? Lead with your chest. So here I go. I'm going to get my little app. I'm gonna have it here. I already know where mine is, but this is what you're gonna do, okay? So you're going to okay, so I'm hoping that you can see my position. Let me get that out of the way. I'm gonna show you what it looks like to kind of comfortably hang upside down. I've led with my chest, I've bent from here, and I'm down here like this. Can you see me? Yeah, pretty much. And you can let your arms hang down, you're gonna let your head hang. You don't wanna be holding your head up. Lead with your chest, but then, when you're at the bottom, you can let everything go. You want everything to be comfortable and kind of let it all hang out. And you can have your little thing with you and but at first you don't even have to do that. Just kind of watch where you're getting to that place where you max out and then go over and just put the phone down. And then play around. Let your voice play around. I want you to relax with this. I want you not to stress about it. I want you to put the silliness and awkwardness aside. You are by yourself. You're in your closet if you have followed these instructions. Nobody's watching. Nobody's listening. It's just you and your body, and you are getting to know it. And you are going to let it do something that you have not done before. Once you can let it go past that point that you have marked, and you'll probably feel it. You'll feel it flip. You'll feel your larynx shift, and then you'll feel the resonance. And almost when you're upside down, kind of feels like everything's dumping into the top of your head, because, well, there's a lot of fluid that's going to your head, but you feel too the pressure and the vibrations shifting from your chest and throat into, it starts in your kind of nose area and then kind of goes up into your head, and you feel it literally up there. Now, are you gonna feel it at first? I can't guarantee that. But you'll feel it over time. If you give this time, give it a chance. If you've struggled all your life to find your head voice, it's probably not gonna happen overnight. It's probably not gonna happen on the first time, although for a number of my students it has. For most, they've had to go at it for a little while. Could be days, could be a couple weeks, but almost everybody has gotten it. And which is, when I say gotten it, that they have allowed the larynx to shift and allow the resonance to shift, to transfer from down here to up here. And remember that pitch is about frequency. Remember that your voice is created here. It's not created in your head. It's not created in your, well, kind of is created in your chest through the breath. But it's not created anywhere but here. This is where the sound originates from. So finding your head voice gets this rap of like, oh, it's so high, I have to reach up so high. No, you don't. It's all being made right there. And this whole bendy over thingy is just really a game, and hopefully like a comfortable way. Now, if you are unable to do the bendy over thingy, you probably need to work on your hamstring flexibility. But let's say you can't, all right? You can do a couple of things. Some of my students have had success hanging off the side of their bed, and they work themselves to the edge of the bed, and then they come up, and then they kind of 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 come up, and then they to the point where their hip crease is at the edge, and then they just let their whole torso and head go down. If your bed is high enough, like your bed has to be high enough. It's almost like a 4-poster bed type of a deal. Or the bed that, if you have them up on those cone thingies, or some other platformy kind of thing. But it has to be high enough for that to happen. Another way to do it, if you are able to do this, is off the edge of a couch or table. I don't know. I don't know what you have around you, but if you are able to find something that you can just kind of get upside down with so that your chest is not crushed or caved. And then even if you're not all the way upside down, it's okay. What you want is to be more or less upside down-ish, and to be relaxed and to have your chest not caved, and to have your torso not caved, and just to be relaxed and allow yourself to play vocally. And then you can just kind of literally hang out there and play around with it, play around with your voice. At some point, I hope, you're gonna feel that. You're gonna feel suddenly your head go into that, what was before a no man's land, that you've never experienced before. So what you do is you get to know it in this crazy upside down type of relationship, and let it be what it is for the time being. Eventually, you want to work your way back up. You want to learn what it feels like to phonate up there, to make sound. You can sing songs while you're upside down hanging out, and feel what that feels like. Now, eventually, for a lot of people, it's gonna get to be a little too much like fluid in your head, and you're not, Don't come up quickly, come up slowly, and let your head come up last. Or else you can get real dizzy and whatnot, and I don't want that to happen. So come up slowly, let your head come up last. Same is true for if you're doing the bend you over thingy this way. You're gonna come back up and just try to kind of keep everything straight, like integrity. You want postural integrity is what you want. So please let me know how that goes, okay? Now, when you're upside down, you're seeing if you can let it go, let the shift happen, and the sensation go up into your head when you are phonating, meaning making vocal noise, sound, and then to bring it back down as you come back up. Then you want to transfer that to just standing. And one way you can do that is using my favorite and yours, semi-occluded vocal training technique. The use of bubble lips, or tongue trill, or fricatives, z, or v, because that just takes some of the pressure off of your larynx. It kind of balances the air pressure between coming from below or coming from above. So it kind of balances that. It doesn't balance it totally because there's got to be more pressure coming this way for the air to come out. But that little bit of retention and not letting all the air come out at once, that causes a slight buildup of pressure in the back of the mouth at the top of the larynx, so that the larynx just doesn't have to work as hard. And try to do the fire engine. This is after you have experienced your head voice, after you've experienced that head resonance. And you're trying to make it where you can do it upright, right? Because you're not gonna be singing upside down, long term. And not publicly, usually. So, you wanna try to approach it gently. So you're gonna do the fire engine again, with the semi-occluded vocal technique of your choice. I'll do it with bubble lips. Using the bubble lips, I can also do the tongue trill. They're dry. Or the, we'll use the V. And you're just going, you're not trying to go to the highest, the highs and the lowest lows. You're just trying to let it go and feel the sensation move of resonance, move from here to here and then back again. So, okay, again, this can take some time. It'll definitely take some practice. It'll definitely take some patience. And if I had a pill to sell you that would just make this happen, I would give that to you, sell it to you, and then I would retire. And I would sell it to a whole bunch of aspiring singers. So it just takes time and patience and practice, like pretty much everything in life. So, all right, God bless you. Keep singing, members. I hope to see you again soon. Send me any questions. Q&A at keep-singing.com. See you next time.